Welcome to the Cabral Concept, where board-certified naturopath and integrative health practitioner Dr. Stephen Cabral shares how he was diagnosed at the age of 17 with a life-altering illness and given no hope for recovery. It was only after studying and traveling all over the world did he discover how to combine ancient Ayurvedic healing practices with state-of-the-art naturopathic and functional medicine to fully rebalance the body and re-energize it with life. It's time to discover how to get well, lose weight, and finally feel alive again. And now, here's your host, Dr. Stephen Cabral.
Welcome back to the Cabral Concept. Great to have you here today. What we are going to talk about today is an often overlooked cause of so many diseases within the body. And I want to share all of those with you today, but I want you to understand that even if you're not feeling the issues in the stomach itself, you may be suffering from too little stomach acid. What I want to share with you here today are all the different reasons potentially for it and what it can do to the body. So whether this is for you or someone else, of course, that you care for, make sure that you're able to really learn this knowledge, this information here today, and then share it with anyone else, of course, that you feel it would serve. So what I want to do is I want to actually share with you just a personal story to start the show. And when I was a teenager and I had gotten really, really sick around 17 years old, and I was on all sorts of different medications, and one of them was actually Prilosec. So that is an acid blocker. The problem was that my issue wasn't with too much acid. I was getting heartburn, I was getting acid reflux, and so of course medical doctors put me on an acid blocker. The problem was it really didn't work all so well. Sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't, because the real cause of my stomach-based issues were not high stomach acid at all. It was actually low stomach acid combined with higher levels of histamine. And what I want to share with you then today is that conventional medicine, I want you to really understand this. Conventional medicine is fantastic for acute-based health issues. So if it is a life-saving condition, a life-saving challenge, absolutely, conventional medicine is the best at that. But if you are dealing with an imbalance of the body, a chronic-based dis-ease of the body, there is no hope within medication. There isn't. Now, it will mask the symptoms, and that might be beneficial in the short term, but it's never beneficial in the long term. And if I had stayed on that Prilosec, and again, I was 17 years old being on Prilosec, I want to share with you a study as to why I want you to be careful. I'm not asking you, I'm not telling you, I'm not giving you medical advice to tell you that you should come off your medication. I'm not saying that at all, because you don't want to live with stomach acid, acid reflux, and GERD. But what I do want to share with you is this. In a recent study, it found that chronic use of proton pump inhibitors, which are PPIs, it's linked to an increased risk of death. So an increased risk of death from cardiovascular disease, which is the number one cause of mortality, kidney disease, and upper GI cancer. The degree of the risk increases with the duration of use, even if you take low doses. Other studies have linked PPIs to dementia, bone fractures, and pneumonia. Some of these are, again, I'm not going to say these brands cause any of these things, but the studies are linked to being on items like Prilosec, Nexium, Protonix, and Prevacid. So when we look at all the different studies, and this is over 200,000 people over 10 years, it found that people who took PPIs had an almost 20% increase rate of death over people who took other types of acid-suppressing drugs. So this is really important, that if you're on a proton pump inhibitor and you haven't figured out why you have acid reflux, GERD, indigestion, heartburn, etc., look at it from a natural health perspective. I urge you to do that. Find a local integrative health practitioner. Find a local naturopathic doctor, a functional medicine doctor. Again, functional medicine, I don't like the term anymore. Too many conventional medicine doctors, which I'm not against, are saying they're functional medicine doctors because they prescribe hormones or whatever it might be. That's not functional medicine. It's not. That's not what it's meant to be, at least. So I think it's far better just to say natural health. I think that's the best way to go about this now, or an integrative health practitioner. Very, very important to look at those. So what I want to share with you is this. Eventually, through the help of mentors and me meeting with other practitioners, I realized that my stomach acid was actually too low And it was causing histamine issues, and my histamine issues were actually causing some acid issues. So here's what this means, though. We have to understand the digestive system itself. So when we eat food, what happens is we begin to mix it with some saliva, which is a good thing. That's a good thing. That's why you don't want to take 2 chews and then swallow it whole, basically. It's really, really important that we chew food to basically a paste, to a liquid in our mouth. Now, most of us don't do that. I'm guilty of that as well. But if we don't, we cause more energy to need to be used in the stomach and digestive tract to actually break down the food. Whereas if we chewed it up really well in our mouth, now less energy is needed, less digestive juices are needed as well. So after we swallow that food, though, it goes down our esophagus, okay? And it passes something called the lower esophageal sphincter. This is where a lot of people have muscle issues there. It's a muscle. And what happens is when you don't have enough stomach acid, believe it or not, that lower esophageal sphincter will stay open. So why does it stay open? Well, its job is to close in the presence of high stomach acid. And about 30 minutes after you start to eat, your body does what? Well, it starts to produce stomach acid. So if you are not producing enough stomach acid, but you're producing a little bit, but not enough to signal the lower esophageal sphincter to close, or close all the way at least, what happens? Well, some of that stomach acid, even though there's not that much, could come up. Or food is fermenting in your stomach because of other digestive issues, and you are beginning to move some of that stomach acid up through gas and bloating, right? They're really, really important to look at it. Or some people may have a hiatal hernia. So what we want to look at is your stomach acid, believe it or not, or I should say, is your acid reflux actually potentially low stomach acid? And there are ways to look for that as well. So after the food is in the stomach, it's meant to mix with stomach acid. And I know that like stomach acid has become the bad guy in all of this, but the truth is, without stomach acid, you allow bacteria to move right into your intestines. You allow parasites to move into the intestines, and all sorts of other different pathogens. So if you don't have stomach acid, you don't have the first defender of what is the inside of the body. So if you don't have stomach acid, you also don't bring the pH down to a 1, 2, 3 pH in the stomach. Probably for humans, it's closer to 2, 3 than it is a 1, where a carnivore-based animal would have very low stomach acid so that it could break down bone and all sorts of other animal-based cartilage, etc. So for humans, our stomach acid doesn't get that low. It's not meant to, because we don't eat the same types of foods, but certainly we do have a low pH to be able to break down proteins especially. So let's say we don't, though. Let's say we don't have enough stomach acid because, like I was, you're on a proton pump inhibitor or whatever it might be, or you're just using acid blockers on your own, like a Tums or something like that. Well, the problem is then when your food moves through your stomach and it's there for anywhere from 30 minutes or so, you can check out my podcast on food combining. We'll link that up. If you go to stevencabral.com/1824, we'll link up a show on food combining. But let's say that you're eating fruit. It's in and out of your stomach in about a half hour. It's quick. But let's say you have a big protein meal and you have a full meal, 2 to 3 hours. 2 to 3 hours, that food's going to be in your stomach. And if you have no or low stomach acid, it could be in there for hours longer. So it moves through your stomach, though, and your body's only producing so much stomach acid. So let's say you don't produce enough. That food now begins to putrefy with bacteria and ferment. Again, more bacteria, potentially more yeast, fungus as it moves into the intestines. But it's now moving out of the stomach and into what's called the duodenum, right? The first part of that small intestine is called the duodenum. We call this in natural health more of the main stage of digestion, okay? The first stage, really setting the stage, is in the stomach, okay? But the main stage is in that duodenum. So we have the stomach acid, and now as it moves into the duodenum, it's supposed to meet bile, okay? So it's supposed to meet bile, which does what? Well, it really helps to emulsify fats. It helps to break down food to a further degree. It's helping to, I would say, buffer the acidity of the food coming in, only if you have enough stomach acid. And that's a good thing. So they meet and the bile neutralizes the acid. Well, the problem is, if you don't have enough acid in the stomach and not enough acids coming in the duodenum, remember, your body is brilliant. It works on feedback loops, negative and positive. If your duodenum isn't giving a signal that there's enough acid or the food's not acidic enough, there's no need for the gallbladder, liver working together to drop more bile from the liver bile ducts to the intestines, or namely the duodenum. So if there's not enough, well, you don't get enough bile. Why does that matter? Well, bile is there to not only help with the breakdown of the food coming in, but it's also there to help detoxify the entire intestinal tract. So really, really important and often overlooked. Now, another piece of this too, that again, it's happening in the first 10 inches or so of the small intestine. We'll call it main stage digestion. So what happens after that, and at the same time actually, is your body's receiving pancreatic enzymes. And these enzymes are now further there to help break down the food and begin to extract the nutrients from the food. So this is crucial. This is really, really important. This is a big part of digestion. But again, it starts in the stomach and it's going to move then through the duodenum. Now, let's say that you didn't have enough bile. You don't have enough pancreatic enzymes because you didn't have enough stomach acid in the first place. That's why stomach acid is the first trigger. You have to have it. It's so crucial. It really is. And keep in mind, whether you have issues or not as you're younger, like I did, people as they age, it happens to all of us, unfortunately, we start to produce less stomach acid with age. Hypochlorhydria. Now, why does that matter? Well, it matters because your body actually needs more protein over the age of like 65, and yet your stomach acid is lower and lower and lower. So if you're telling me at 65 years old you have high stomach acid, it would be a miracle that you were producing high levels of stomach acid. Now, I'm not denying your acid reflux. I work with many people over the age of 65 with acid reflux, but for many other different reasons. And those can be biomechanical with the digestive tract, the esophagus, etc. But you want to take that into consideration. Because if you're taking proton pump inhibitors or anti-acid blockers, or you don't have a lot of stomach acid, yet you're eating meat and other high protein foods, it's only causing putrefaction and most likely inflammation downstream in the digestive tract. And now if we have inflammation, what happens? Well, now you can be more prone to what? Well, histamine issues, and also you have undigested protein particles. If you have undigested protein particles and they leak into your bloodstream, yes, that causes more histamine, more allergies, more asthma. So again, it starts with the stomach. It's so, so crucial. But also, if we have inflammation in the body and your body's aging, it's getting older, what are you more prone to? Well, typically cardiovascular issues, right? Because the arteries then begin to close up as well. So now we could have high blood pressure, we could have cardiovascular disease, all from poor digestion. So hopefully you can start to see why digestion is the key to overall health. It's not the only key, but you can exercise, you can meditate, you can sleep, but if your digestion is not good, that's a foundational element. You have to take care of the digestion. So that's why understanding digestion is crucial as well. It's like there's nothing really more important. A lot of people trying to biohack their way out of neurotransmitters or sleep or whatever it is. I support all of that. I really do. I teach that, I think, from a healthy perspective. But you have to master nutrition first. So you have to master digestion first. So that's really what I want to look at. And then I have many podcasts on leaky gut and digestion, which I'm going to link up the category, which is gut and digestion, below, because I want you to learn more about intestinal permeability and leaky gut as well. If you don't have enough stomach acid, you're like, well, how would that lead to leaky gut? Well, the problem is this. If putrefaction takes place in the intestines, that creates inflammation, okay? So putrefaction creates inflammation. Inflammation can move those, well, it can actually destroy the villi, but it can actually move open those intestinal wall cells. Now, remember, the intestinal wall is a single cell. There's supposed to be what's called tight junctions, which just means cells that are backed up close, right next to each other, right? So it allows through very specific molecules or nutrients, such as glucose molecules from carbohydrates, fatty acids from fats, and amino acids from proteins. Well, once you start to allow multiple or multi-strand amino acids to come through, we now set off the immune system. The immune system does what? Well, it causes inflammation. We say that inflammation causes disease, but inflammation doesn't cause disease. It's a precursor, yes, but what happens is there's always an underlying root cause. So you could say, well, if we keep tracing it back and keep tracing it back, it could be low stomach acid. And to that, I would say, yes, now you're starting to look at the root cause of some of these issues overall in the body, and believe it or not, low stomach acid can be one of them. So fix the intestinal permeability issues, yes, that will help with the allergy issues, the asthma issues, potentially the autoimmune issues, the psoriasis, the skin issues. Okay, But again, and keep working on the intestinal permeability, but let's keep tracing it upstream. Food sensitivities. If you haven't tested for food sensitivities, test for food sensitivities. Again, you can do a simple at-home food sensitivity test at a site just like Equilife, right? So you can go to equi.life and you can just run an at-home food sensitivity test for you and your family. Again, you could work with a local integrative health practitioner, naturopathic doctor, etc., or you can do it on your own at home as well. Your choice. Again, totally your choice. But know your food sensitivities because that is a root causal based issue. You can't eat foods that cause inflammation because then they cause gut permeability issues, etc. Allergies, inflammation, histamines, you name it. So the other part is this, is look to see if you do have low stomach acid. What could that look like? Well, plain and simple, you could start to feel digestion within 30 minutes after a meal or so. Like that's an important factor to look at. Do you burp and belch after a meal? If you do, could be low stomach acid. So again, begin to look at those telltale signs. Skin issues can be another one with low stomach acid, more like rashes from like a psoriasis. Is that the only cause for psoriasis? Absolutely not. But again, it's one potential issue to look at that. And then of course, stress and gut permeability for psoriasis are, two of my top ones. What I would like to do though, is again, so here's the thing. On my daily Cabral concept shows, I want to be able to teach high-level principles. I want you to understand that there's always a reason why. There's always a reason why you have the dis-ease in your body right now. Is it always simple to figure out? No. But can you figure it out? Absolutely. Will you figure it out? Of course you will, if you don't stop. So I want to give you all the different reasons to look at that. One of the things that I'm doing right now is for people that want to go deeper, I'm offering, it's between like 4 and 5 hours long for all of my health results accelerators. So it takes you through all of the gut and digestive based issues. And so if you want to learn more about gut and digestion in general and a plan for candida, bacteria, H. pylori, parasite rebalancing, acid reflux, you name it. Again, not providing medical advice, providing you or treatment plans, that's conventional medicine based, or cures, that's conventional medicine based. We provide you with finding the underlying root cause and actually rebalancing that. So those are at stephencabral.com/courses. We've gotten a ton of questions on that. Again, there's never any obligation. It's for people that want to figure this out once and for all, go deeper on their health. Check out the one on gut and digestion. So the next part, though, is I always like to make sure that you take away some tips, actionable tips on every single show. So what I want to say is if you are someone who believes they have low stomach acid, let's start working on that, okay? Let's start working on it. Again, it's probably not the only thing, but it is a place to start, and everybody needs a place to start. So the first thing you want to do is you want to understand is that if you're on a PPI, if you're on a proton pump inhibitor, you don't want to start using this plan, this protocol. You are able to use the second part, most likely, but again, I can't provide you with medical advice. If you're on a proton pump inhibitor, PPI, you will want to work with a health coach, integrative health practitioner, naturopathic doctor, etc. Okay, so, and again, I'm not telling you to come off your medication. That would be medical advice. I'm not providing medical advice. But for those people who aren't, that are dealing with some of the bloating, some of the indigestion, at least two places to start. One is you can use a simple product called betaine HCl. Now, one caveat I always want to leave you with is this. I can't actually link up nutritional supplements anymore from my podcasts because somehow that's construed as medical advice. Well, it's not medical advice, but anyway, I can't link it up. That's all I have to say. So you can find these products, though. All the products I recommend that I use in my private practice, that I use myself, that you can see behind me that are actually my products because no one's coming into this office, are at Equilife. So that's EQUI.LIFE. That is the company that I formulate for, and that is essentially our global integrative health-based practice. So betaine HCl, not an expensive product, but it's going to help you create more stomach acid. So if you're someone that actually needs to create more stomach acid, it's a simple, inexpensive way to do that. It really is. How much should you use? Well, that's actually dose dependent. You can always just start with one capsule, 500 milligrams or so. Again, I can't tell you the amount to take. But if you don't feel anything and you still get your bloating and indigestion, etc., You might want to try 2. Then you might want to try 3. Like people sometimes, depending on the dose, might need to take 1,500 milligrams or a little bit more, depending on the person. But again, I can't tell you how much to take, but you can start that to start to see, do you feel a little warmth in your stomach? And if you ever take too much, the tip I always give people is this: take a half a teaspoon to a teaspoon of baking soda, and you can mix it in some water, let it dissolve just for a moment, drink it down. It might cause bloating, but baking soda is a higher pH and it neutralizes the low pH of the stomach. So it works for stomach acid for the most part. Okay, again, not a treatment protocol. I'm sorry that I have to say that so often, but that is what I'm required to do. And so that's betaine HCl. Simple, very straightforward. Functional medicine doctors have been using it for, I don't know, 40 years, a long time. All right, so the next one is this, and this can be used by most people. So most people, even if they are on a PPI, which is a proton pump inhibitor, they can use a digestive enzyme. So we have one over at Equilife called Daily Digestive. Pretty fitting for what it is. You take 1 to 3 of those per meal. When do you take them? Ideally before the meal, but honestly, it doesn't matter. You can take it mid-meal. I take all of my supplements mid-meal. That's when you would take your betaine HCl, which is mid-meal. People say, oh, you don't use your No, it's okay. Your digestive enzymes can be taken mid-meal. They're meant to mix with the food. Now, can you put them in your stomach ahead of time? Sure, you can take them 10 minutes before a meal. That's great too. I keep life simple. I keep life simple for the people in our practice as well. Keep it simple. Take them all mid-meal. So here's the thing though. You can take as many as you want. There's really not a downside to digestive enzymes. If you take too many, you may get loose stool. You took too many. It's okay. It's going to stop, right? So that's the thing. You can take 1, 2, or 3. That's typically what people take. So daily digestive enzyme, and here's why I recommend the one from Equilife. I formulated specifically, everything's obviously specific, but I put in bromelain and papain. So it allows you to get some of those pancreatic enzymes into the body to mimic what they do naturally. Remember, it's from pineapple and papaya, so natural, to be able to give you better digestion. So you might not be able to take the betaine HCl, but you probably can take the daily digestive enzyme. And that's part of what I call daily foundational protocol level 3. It's what I use every day. Up until like 2 years ago, I only used to use daily foundational protocol level 2. Now I use level 3, which is just the addition of the digestive enzyme. And here's why. There's no downside. Like that's why I started doing it again. I'm like, why am I not using the digestive enzyme? I don't get bloating after meals. So I was like, I don't need it. I can just save, $1 a day. But I was like, for $1 a day, I can extract more nutrients out of my food. I should do that. So that's what I do. So I take a digestive enzyme at lunch and I take one at dinner. Honestly, it's that simple. I don't take one in the morning just because I use a smoothie. So, and typically some oatmeal. But here's the thing. You can always take it with that too. It's not that you can't. It's just, again, I'm always about simplification. So that's what I do. I'm a huge advocate of that. Daily digestive enzyme. If you're over the age of 40, definitely I would recommend a daily digestive enzyme for most people. I have an additional podcast I'm going to link up for you because it's its own separate topic and it's not for everyone. So what I'm going to do is you head over to stevencabral.com/1824. I would like to link up additional shows on using digestive bitters, which is an ancient tonic that many people used in Europe and obviously in India with Ayurvedic times. So that's great. So definitely check out the digestive bitters. And another great one too is with your main meals, have a cup of hot or warm ginger tea during the meal or after the meal. It's a really great digestive aid, and I highly recommend that as well. If you were to get acid reflux from taking ginger tea, then you pretty much know you have a histamine issue. That happened to me when I used to use ginger tea, and I'm like, oh, why did that happen? It works for everybody else. Why doesn't it work for me? Well, I'm very prone to histamine issues. So that's why you can remember that. Now I can have some ginger tea and life is good. But it takes a little while to rebalance the body. But luckily I can show you that I'm living proof. And if I can do it with these genetics, you can do it as well. That's for sure. So I'm going to link up a bunch of shows today at stevencabral.com/1824. We've got a whole digestive gut health category now, and I'm happy to link those up too. Much more education. So hopefully this was helpful. And of course, if it was, please do feel free to share it with anyone else you believe it could serve. Thank you so much for tuning into the Cabral Concept today, and I'm glad you made it to the end of the show because I have a big announcement. Over at EqualLife, we are formulating and have formulated a brand new line of products. These are products going to be underneath the Zeldaberry name. That is a trademarked product line of ours, and that is because we are taking scientifically proven zinc along with elderberry, fusing them together for a brand new product, clinically proven to help that immune system. So right now, we would love for you to be able to check out those products. And because this is a field that I love so much, and I only formulate products that I know are going to be helpful for people, that we are giving our brand new products away. So we're starting with the Zeldaberry lozenges. So right now, all orders over $129 get this product completely free. This is a $30 product, and that is because you're getting a full day's worth of zinc. Now, this is a 25 milligram zinc lozenge with, though, the clinically proven elderberry added to it. So you get a delicious lozenge. You can take it any time of the day. I typically take one a day, and I take it after a meal, whether it be lunch or dinner. And this is also, though, in addition to my daily nutritional support that I take and my balanced zinc, which is part of my immunity protocol. So you might say, why take all of these things? Well, if you add up the daily nutritional support, about 12 grams of zinc, you add up the balanced zinc, that's 15 grams of zinc, it's about, 27 there. I'm getting 25 more to equal 50 milligrams of zinc, and that's what I'm doing during this viral-based season. So that's exactly what I'm doing. Now you get a full zinc product along with elderberry, which has been clinically proven to help with certain viruses. So again, that's why I'm so excited about this, because the science backs it up. It's a great new product, and I know it's going to help a lot of people. So the truth is, whenever possible, I try to give it away for free. I try to get you these products if I can. We gave away a free bottle of vitamin D just a couple weeks ago, and right now you are getting this product completely free, $30 value on all purchases over $129. Check it out right now at equi.life. That's equi.life. That is our EqualLife brand. Take care, everyone. Let me know how you enjoyed them.